As teachers, there's an expectation to conform to the structures of school that often do not fit us as artists. The pressure to not only engage with these structures, but to believe in them as necessary for making schools work is real. In this moment of unprecedented change when it comes to school, there's a unique opportunity to recenter ourselves as artists. The space of school is shifting. It is no longer in a building, and the way we show up for it is new and undefined.
The constraints that have felt limiting to us as artists, grades, set schedules, surveillance, although not completely erased, have also shifted. When framed as a release, there's an opportunity to ground ourselves in relation to school in a new way. Instead of understanding school as a space to learn things one might need for the future, what happens when we approach it as precious, exciting material filled with possibility in its present moment? What if experiencing the space of school, in and of itself, was just enough to fill you up?
Hi, P. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I hope you and your family are safe and healthy. I haven't heard yet from you since we've been out of school, so I wanted to reach out again and make sure you're doing all right, and wanted to know if there's anything you need or if there's any support I can offer to you or your family. I know that this time is extremely overwhelming, and there are a million good reasons to feel the need to tune out from school that I totally respect and understand. Even if you are unable to engage or participate in the work that is being posted, I would love to hear from you and know that you are all right. No other explanation needed. I already know I'm extremely flexible, and you are invited to jump in at any time. Let's work together to find a way for us to stay connected. Are you still working at Devon Market? I look for you every time I go. Take care, Ms. Dolnick.
Hi, Al. On Thursday, I'll be introducing a new set of ideas for us to dig around in. This will be a great time for those unable to participate thus far to jump in. I know everyone is experiencing this current moment in their own way. Many of us are struggling with loss of lives, jobs, homes, loss of any sense of normalcy. Some of us are taking care of our families by working longer hours, caring for our younger siblings, worrying about college applications, missing friends and relatives. The list continues on and on. Please know I understand the many roadblocks in the way of getting your work done. The real work right now is to take care of yourself and your loved ones. I know for some of you, taking care of yourself means digging into your schoolwork. I'll continue to invite you to participate in what I believe to be interesting experiments and experiences, and always look forward to helping you move through them in meaningful ways. Please reach out whenever and always. I miss you, Ms. Murtaugh.
What is community when we can't be together?
What is connection when we are separate?
How do we have a real conversation?
What does it mean to offer versus teaching versus inviting?
How can school be an invitation as opposed to a requirement?
And what do students need to be able to accept it as an invitation?
What would we build from scratch? What would students build from scratch? What can we only build through our collaboration with students? What if the premise of school wasn't we are teaching and students are learning, but instead, what can happen when we come together? Just as we might create rules for ourselves as a way of moving forward in our art making practices, what rules would we create to move forward in a way that would create the kind of meeting within school and education that we would like to see? What structures or spaces do we turn to as a way to start imagining? This is a sky that looks different every day.
This is where we spend as much of our time as possible.
This is where we meet our neighbors.
This is where we experience joy by ourselves and with our community.
This is where we reflect.
This is where we get ideas.
Rule number 1.
We live on a block in Rogers Park in Chicago that dead ends at the beach. It's a very special place to live. During the school year, we loop around to the end of our block to get a good look at the water before starting our day. When we come home, we come back to the same spot, roll down the windows, and listen to the waves. When quarantine began, the lines of school and not school began to blur, and these previously separate spaces began to creep closer. Instead of leaving the beach behind every morning, it became a place to process our day while it was still happening. It became a space for us to meet when we could no longer meet in each other's apartments. We began to reflect on school at the beach, and the two spaces started to merge for us in a new way.
What if school was a space where you could feel sun and wind on your body, where you could float, where you could dig, experience joy with yourself and others, confronted with surprise, where you could feel fulfilled by just experiencing a place? In August 2020, we are surrounded by conversations every day about what school is going to be. In this moment of reimagining what school is going to look like now, what can we do to fight for the flexibility, to prioritize the things that we believe to be the most important, challenging ourselves to work from scratch and start from a space where recognition of each other, connection, care, collaboration, and joy comes first? Rule number 2.
In this moment where school isn't actually anywhere, we want to task ourselves and others to collect, document, search for the most joy-filled, awe-inspiring, playful, beautiful spaces and moments that we have access to in other parts of our lives, and use them as a starting place for reimagining the material of school. What happens when we start over, develop new spaces to start from, and embrace the blurriness, murkiness of this moment as freedom to serve our students and ourselves in a way that is more genuine to thinking and learning and making? Rule number 3.
Proximity.
We get to watch kids play freely.
We get to see families enjoy each other.
We get to see storms roll in and out.
We get to swim and ride the waves.
We get to have meals there, coffee, we host friends.
We get to witness strangers entertaining themselves.
We get to be lost in time.
We get to read books.
It is always different.
We never know who will be there or who we might talk to.
We show up when we're awake and leave when we've had enough.
What does your list sound like? What do your students' lists sound like? What is a space or a moment that you return to, and what would it look like if we built school entirely around it?
Rule number 4, make it personal.
While we know that school might not ever equal beach, even in a conceptual way, there is usefulness in being able to describe our spaces of joy as a starting place in order to change the spaces that have never worked for everyone. What would it be like if everyone was as excited to be at school as we were to be on the water, or at the movies, or at a barbecue, or wherever that space is for you?
If we as teachers have anything to offer or teach our students, it's being transparent in our process of learning how to find and recognize joy and bring that into our work with each other. How to find ways to live there and to work from there. What do we have to offer if we're not actively collecting, researching, observing, asking questions, getting dirty, and then starting all over again in regards to what we want the space of school to look like and be?
And asking students to join us in this process. How can we make ourselves vulnerable enough for it to be a true collaboration that is dependent on all of us bringing our most genuine selves forward? How does this become a continued practice, not just for the pandemic, but for always?
School should be reimagined by whoever is there, always, every day. We must remember that it is flexible, malleable, ready, and waiting for us to play. We must remember. Rule number 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.